I'm just gonna say it. Batman is freaking awesome. Everyone thinks Batman's awesome. I think Batman's awesome. You think Batman's awesome. Everyone thinks Batman is awesome. All of the cool gadgets, masterclass stealth, and especially the extremely menacing essence this man has. All of it combines into one of the most iconic and complex superheroes of all time. But what if we took this character, take a look at his history and his personality and everything that he is, and try to describe all of it in just one word? Well, today, that is exactly what we're doing. You see, I've been wanting to make essay videos talking about some of my favorite fictional characters for a long time, but I didn't just want to talk about them like everyone else does. I wanted to have my own little spin on things. So, I got the idea of describing popular and iconic characters with just one word. And with the new Lego Batman that just came out, I figured there would be no character more perfect for this first episode in this series than Batman. So, let's just get into it. What is one word that perfectly describes all of Batman? Funnily enough, when I first asked myself this question, I was worried that it was way too obvious. Of course, I can think of a word that describes Batman, and then it occurred to me that I really couldn't. Don't get me wrong, there were tons of words that I could think of. Knight, Crusader, Detective, tons of words that made so much sense. But there were two words specifically that stuck out. Two words that fit perfectly. Two words that cover every piece and bit of Batman. Two words that represent Batman so well that I couldn't pick between them. If you've seen the thumbnail, you probably know which words I'm talking about. Justice and vengeance. Now, I'm sure many of you watching have different opinions for which one of these words represents Batman more. Even I have my own opinions of what Batman is. But for this video, I tried my best to make sure I was absolutely not biased when deciding which one of these two words describes Batman the best. Now, in case you don't know, I have made videos about Batman before, so I have some experience looking into Batman's history. And from my research in past videos, I have discovered there's kind of a spectrum of Batmen with two sides. One side of the spectrum is what you would call Christopher Nolan's Batman. You know, dark, edgy, I'm Batman, that kind of thing. Then you have the other side of the spectrum, which I personally like to refer to as Adam West Batman. You know, the more silly, kapowy, wholly redundant shark repellent joke Batman. You know, that kind of thing. I'm sure you figured out that both these types of Batman work with only one of these two words. Adam West Batman, standing for justice, and Christopher Nolan's Batman, seeking vengeance. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll stop with the impressions. Probably. So, at this point, we have two options. We could go with the dark and gritty Batman, or we could go with the silly and heroic Batman. Now, I'm sure you all have your preferred type of Batman, and being honest, even I have a more preferred type of Batman myself. But I'm here to find out which one of these two words describes all of Batman the best. Every version from every bit of Batman's history. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out which one of these words describes Batman the best. And the first thing I thought was, which type of Batman has appeared more? And yeah, that title goes straight to The Dark Knight. If you don't know Batman too well, then you probably only know him from the movies, like, well, The Dark Knight. Those movies really pushed the whole dark Batman thing. Yes, they were still pretty light and heroic Batman media at the time and even after those movies, but most of the big and popular Batman media that most average Batman fans know are movies and shows that show a pretty dark and edgy Batman, with the more light and silly Batman films being considered some of the most terrible. And I'm not just talking about the live action movies. Even Batman animation, Batman games, Batman comics, all of the really iconic Batman stories are usually dark. So you think this would be a pretty slam dunk for vengeance being the best word to describe Batman. But hold on, we're not done yet, because the video's too short and we won't get any views. I mean, because of 1939. Okay, I know that might just sound like a random number, but it's not. If you're a hardcore Batman fan, you know that 1939 was the year Batman was created. Good old Detective Comics 27, the very first appearance of Batman. And it wasn't dark, like at all. In fact, the first few decades of Batman were much more to the tone of Adam West's Batman. They were wacky, they were weird, they were not dark and gritty at all. Sure, most of the wacky old school Batman media is seen as stupid, but those old school comics are the roots to this very complex Batman tree. And because of all of this, I was going to say the best word to describe Batman is justice. But then I thought about it for a while and realized to describe Batman in just one word, I have to describe all of Batman, or at least most of them. And to be honest, most of Batman's history is dark and vengeful. And I know Batman didn't start this way, but if I'm being honest, I would much prefer to stick with Batman's roots. But I can't be biased to the Batman media that I like and prefer, especially if it ignores all of Batman's current history and media. Batman flying in his Batcopter wearing his zebra-striped suit just isn't Batman anymore. There have been some comics that have made Batman more colorful, like him and his Batman, but then there's also other Batman comics that make Batman even darker, like Absolute Batman, which just might have taken Batman to an even darker level, which I did not think was possible. So maybe that's just it. All the super serious, super dark, super vengeful Batman is just who he is now, regardless of what Batman was, even regardless of what people want him to be. Maybe Batman really is just vengeance. No. As tempted as I am to end the video here, there's a question that needs to be asked. What makes Batman vengeful? Now, you might think that's obvious, right? Batman fights crime to avenge his dead parents. Everyone knows this. But If that is true, then why doesn't he just go after the killer of his parents and get vengeance? Well, you could say it's because he doesn't know who killed his parents, which is fair and explains why he goes after other criminals to find vengeance. But what about killing criminals? I mean, if he really is avenging his parents, then why does he try so hard not to kill anyone? You could argue that he doesn't need to kill to get his vengeance, which I suppose is fair. But let me remind you about Red Hood. If you don't know who he is, long story short, he was a Robin that fought crime alongside Batman, who was unfortunately brutally killed by the Joker and got revived, long story, and now kills criminals in Gotham for vengeance. But if Batman and Red Hood both fight for vengeance, then why are their ideals so different? And what about Robin? If Batman fights just for vengeance, then why adopt Robin? You could say he just didn't want him to live his life without a family, just like how Bruce had to live his life without his family. Which, okay, that's fair. But then why does he let him fight crime? And same thing with Batgirl and all of the other members of the Bat family. And what about all of the things Batman does? Helping people that he doesn't even know, not just as Batman, but as Bruce Wayne? It's not just mindless vengeance. It's more than that. It's doing what needs to be done. It's doing what is right, what is true. It's justice. And for all of you who still might think I'm being biased, still think vengeance is the best word to describe Batman, then I only have this question to ask. Why does Batman fight because of the criminals in Gotham that he hates? Or for the people in Gotham that he loves? Now, I know, after this video, we're all still going to have our own opinions on what Batman is and isn't. And we're probably never going to come to a definitive answer nor word, but as far as I'm concerned, after looking at every part of Batman's history, I think I can say the best word to describe Batman truly is justice.